if you're currently renting and you're considering getting into your own home, you might have some level of confusion about this, and you may not have yet worked out whether owning your own home is the right choice for you. So I've got 4 things to consider here when moving from renting to buying, and because there's positives with both, and you can consider this, and it might help alleviate some confusion that you might be having about your own situation. So firstly, let's consider cost. Okay, now if you're renting, it's pretty straightforward. You know what your cost is, you know what your rent is, that's all you pay. It's pretty much set, and it might go up each year when you have a renewal at the end of your fixed term, for example. Okay, so you know what your renting cost is. Let's compare that to your mortgage repayment cost. So when you're paying a mortgage, you have an interest rate, of course, which determines what your mortgage repayment will be, and then you also have rates to pay, and you also have insurance to pay. So I've done a scenario here where you've got an average mortgage of say about $400,000, and I'm working with an interest rate of about 4%. And so if you had a $400,000 mortgage and the interest rate is in the 4% vicinity, then you're going to be paying around about $450 per week for your mortgage, and then you're going to be paying, shall we say, for an average New Zealand rates bill, you might be paying around about $50 a week for your rates. And for insurance, an average Kiwi rate insurance bill might be around about $40 a week, maybe $50 a week. I'm using 40 in this scenario. So when you add those 3 things together, mortgage plus rates plus insurance, I'm getting about $540 a week. So if you think that your mortgage would be around about $400,000, then maybe around $540 or $550 a week is a realistic repayment figure per week, and you can compare that to what you're paying in rent costs and see if it's in a similar ballpark. Because if it's the same, well then it might be a good idea to consider getting into your own house, provided you've got the deposit, of course. So if you want to do your own calculations around what your mortgage repayments to be, then I recommend that you go to sorted.org.nz, go to the mortgage repayment calculator there, and if you've got a 20% deposit, then you'd work with an interest rate in the mid to high 3%, and if you had a less than 20% deposit, then work with an interest rate of around about 4% into the low 4%, and that would be reasonably accurate on what you'd pay at the moment for mortgage repayments. Right, so next we're going to talk about control. This is important. Okay, so control. Now, if you're renting, you'd ask yourself, do you have accommodation security? Because I know that a lot of people get moved on from their rental accommodation because maybe the landlord wants to sell the house, or maybe the landlord wants to renovate the house, and that means that you might need to move out of a house that has become your home for a period of time, and you know people in the neighbourhood, and that would mean that you would feel like you don't have a whole lot of control in that situation. So you'd be at the mercy of the landlord in that situation and being moved against your will. Rent increases also largely out of your control. There are some market controls here, of course, but if your landlord or the property manager decides to put the rent up, you don't have a whole lot of control around that, and you'd either have to choose to pay it or choose to shift house and move somewhere else. And then maintenance. Most landlords and property management companies are pretty good around maintenance, but that's not always the case. People do have a lot of problems there, and then if there was a leaking tap or a leaking roof, or there's problems, is that going to get fixed up in a timely manner, and do you have any control over that? So compare that to if you own the place yourself. That would allow you to have accommodation security. You're not going to get moved on. And the difference, of course, being you might be able to buy your own house and own your own house, but do you get to live in the area that you want to live? Because you might be able to afford a house that's in an area that you don't want to live in, but you can afford to rent a house in an area that you do want to live in, where you're already established and where your children might already be going to schools. So there is things to consider there. Being able to afford a house doesn't necessarily straight away mean that's the best option for your family, because maybe renting in the school zone that you want to be, or where your friends and family are, might have value for you. So that's to be taken into consideration. Okay, responsibility. Here's the thing with owning your own house. You've got to fix it yourself, and you've got to pay to have it fixed yourself. Okay, so this is I guess one of the nice things about renting is that if things go wrong, it really is somebody else's responsibility to make those adjustments and to fix the place up and stop it from leaking or get the heating put in and things like that. If you own your own house, you do have the accommodation security, of course, but when things go wrong, there ain't no one else to take care of that except for you. So you've got to be prepared to take that step up in responsibility when you own your own house. Yeah, so renting, of course, with responsibility means you are more fluid. If you want to change suburbs, if you want to go somewhere, then you've got that. You don't have that responsibility there. You can just up sticks and move along. If you're owning, you can still do that, but it is more of a process. Takes longer to do that because you have the responsibility of looking after your house, maintaining your house, and you can't just jump and leave quite so quickly should you want to. Okay. All right, opportunity. One of the great things about owning your own house is that as you own your own house, the value of that house will go up and the mortgage on that house will go down as you pay it down, and that creates equity. And that equity creates opportunity because you can do stuff with that equity. So what a lot of people do with that equity is that they use that to go and buy additional houses, and that can be a really fantastic retirement plan to have additional houses which one day you will sell and take the cash off from that to live off through your retirement. So that is a great thing of home ownership. Just by purely living there and paying your mortgage down, you will create equity, and then opportunities come from that. Now if you're renting, basically you can't do that because while you are paying rent every week, essentially you are still paying a mortgage. You're just paying someone else's mortgage, but you don't get the benefits of that equity that's been created by that mortgage. Someone else gets the benefits of that equity. They get to use that, you don't. So if you're renting, you need to have a plan B, or you need to have another plan. All right, you're not going to be able to use any equity to go and invest in other properties. You're going to have a different retirement plan. KiwiSaver is unlikely to be enough. The government pension is unlikely to be enough. You need to have something on top of that to make your retirement more comfortable, and you won't get the benefits of using equity that, say, a homeowner would get. Anyway, I hope you found these 4 points helpful and a little bit interesting and a little bit informative. If you like this video and you like some of the things that we talk about, then like our page, because we put stuff up like this all the time, and it might be great for you to learn a bit more along your journey as you get ready for home ownership yourself. Thanks a lot.